this morning. It's good to know you're still with us on Political Mandates on the Dual Broadcasting Service Reloaded. This morning we are speaking on good governance and also as we prepare for the forthcoming elections. I trust your PVCs are ready. I think on this show we'll start to display our PVCs to know those who are fully ready for the forthcoming election. My name is Uncommon Emmanuel, and this morning we're going to be having a whole lot of conversation from the civil society organizations and also to other matters arising in the forthcoming election. I'm not alone this morning in the studio. I have renowned civil society organization experts who are not just expert practitioners with years of experience who have participated in a series of elections, and this morning they will be sharing their knowledge on what the civil society organization should be doing, what they have done, and how they can better prepare, position the masses for the forthcoming election. I have, should I say, the boss of them all is no other person than Comrade Curtis Weber. Comrade, good morning this morning.
Good morning, Mr. Emmanuel. Thanks for having me this morning. Good morning, my esteemed viewers at home.
All right, we also have in our midst this morning, Comrade Engineer Benson this morning. Comrade, good morning this morning.
Good morning, Mr. Emmanuel. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, I think I'll go straight to the conversation this morning. Comrade Curtis, now let's look at the forthcoming election. Let's look at civil society organization. We know they are a form of bridge between the government, between
And the people.
and political organizations and the people. Now let's look at the functionality. How have they been carrying out their function? Because for a while we discovered that the civil society have been strangulated, some have been politicized, some have been, a lot of things has happened. What is the role civil society should be playing for the forthcoming election?
All right. Civil society functions like in every other election. First is to ensure a smooth process. Is to ensure that the election is conducted in a manner that is provided for in the law. That is the first responsibility of civil society organization, to ensure that the exercise is conducted in accordance with the laid down rules and procedures.
All right. Now let's look at, because what you have said seems to be so concise, but let's unveil it. Let's open it. Let's look at it. Now you need to highlight some of the key activities CSO engage in before, during, and after elections, because we need to look at it on a broader scale.
All right. First, one of the major roles that the civil society engage in prior to election, one is sensitization, to sensitize the conscience of the electorate, so to say, of the citizens, to educate them on their rights to vote. Because over time, because of the process that have not been transparent enough in the electoral system, it tends to cause voting apathy, where majority of our citizens are no longer interested. They no longer have faith or belief in our electoral process. So we owe it to the duty as civil society practitioners to conscientize, to reawaken the conscience of the electorate on the need for them to exercise the fundamental rights of voting. Then away from that, we also carry out a consultation process to meet and discuss with all stakeholders involved in election, being the INEC officials, the security agencies, the politicians who are the state actor or the major actor when it comes to election or politics. So we carry out this sensitization, we carry out this consultation process, we educate the people to ensure that not just that the electorate comes out to vote, but to ensure that the INEC do their own part professionally, and again to ensure that the security agencies also do their part to provide security for the electorate and the electoral materials. In this past 1-2 weeks, we have had series of engagement meetings from security summits to civil society and INEC dialogues. There are several consultation meetings to ensure that the election is conducted peacefully without any form of violence. And just about a couple of days ago, the Freedom Ambassadors Organization also organized a symposium to also educate and sensitize the people, most especially the youth, on need for us to have a violence-free election. So these are some of the things that we do as civil society practitioners.
All right, these are some of the things we know how germane these things are. Now let's come to Engineer Benson. Now let's look at these variables that Comrade Curtis has actually provided. Now, in spite of your collaboration, we still have some civil society organizations that seems to have been politicized, that have been infiltrated by these political actors, because we see some CSOs coming out to endorse political parties. Is that part of your tenet? Do CSOs endorse political parties? Are they partisan, or they are strictly neutral? Because your thematic area simply is to foster and to engender good governance.
Yeah, when it comes to endorsement, the civil society is not known for it. We do not believe in partisanship. When you talk about partisanship, you are talking about a strong loyalty shown to a particular party, and as well when you are prejudiced about other parties. And so the stand of the civil society at any point in time should be that of a neutral ground. So we don't endorse any party.
So CSOs are not sympathetic for a particular player. Because the way you're smiling, are you not sympathetic for anybody? Obviously, you'll be. Maybe you would. I don't know if you vote. Probably you'll be on. Should I say? What do you call it now? Election observer. Will you be going for an election observer? But if you are not, obviously you'll be voting. So are CSOs not sympathetic to political parties?
Like my boss rightly said, it is also part of our duty to sensitize the society to ensure that they exercise their civic responsibilities. And so, as that be, it is also expected, by example, that on that day, if peradventure one is not part of the observant team, one should also be seen voting. But that in no way has nothing to do with being sentimental, or trying to be partisan, like you have said.
All right, before I let you go, now let's look at CSOs. Now, during elections, we see that CSO goes around educating voters, parties involved, on their rights. But do we still see them tell people on their responsibilities? Because it is one thing to have rights, so that thing to also be responsible. Because these rights that you have, there are other things that you are also supposed to do. Going to election ground and not being responsible, that may be tantamount to election malpractice, don't you think so?
Yeah, like we are trying to address the problem seems to be an accumulative attack. It's been accumulated over time, and so we will not stop. So far we've been long engaged in the aspect of sensitization. We know that ultimately there are, you cannot rule away the fact that most persons who, go to polling units do not also go there with the ideal intentions. And so, which is why we are also looking at the security agencies and those who might also be part of the observation team to ensure that the, voice out should there be any, form of misconduct at the polling units.
All right, Comrade Dr. But let me end with what he has said before I ask you what I wanted to ask. Let's look at security issues. Are you worried with the current heightened threats in security in the state? Are you worried that the election, yes, because your program talked about electoral violence, are you worried that there may be pockets or even widespread insecurity when it comes to the forthcoming elections? Because we are seeing over 35,000 policemen. That somebody said is bigger than some polling unit, bigger than some local governments, and you are seeing that as policemen. Will that not spark up fear, apprehension in the heart of the voters, knowing fully well that you are saying there are already voter apathies?
Obviously no, In my own opinion, I don't think the presence of security in the election will in any way scare or cause further voter apathy, because we have been able to sensitize the citizens over time, and they know that the presence of security personnel, it's for their own benefit, it's for their own security, not to intimidate anyone. The essence of that security is to ensure that they prevent hoodlums or political thugs from interfering in the process. So it's not going to in any way cause any voting apathy, and I do not even envisage any form of noticeable violence.
Are you sure?
Yes. Reasons being that can be true or possible if the powers that be, in quotes, decide to allow the election run smoothly without any interference. Over time, we have seen such upsurge of violence, and most especially in the nationwide elections. But why I'm very, very optimistic that this election is going to be violence-free, that's not to say that there won't be acted by some, so to say, an irrational beings to wanting to hijack the process. But there's going to be 100% focus, because this is the only election we are having this week in the entire nation. So the INEC, all the security agencies and all the stakeholders will focus on Edo State. So there won't be room for any individual to hijack the process. But that does not suffice to say that there will be attempts. But I'm very, very optimistic that the process will be peaceful.
All right, now this is the question I was about to ask before Comrade Benson actually took us to that security route. Now let's look at what has the civil society, because we know it seems during elections your activities are pronounced, your activities are more visible. Now, beyond election activities, outside election cycles, what have been the reform that CSO, like your organizations, your body, have been pushing? Because you are aware of the general election, 2023 general election, you saw certain irregularities, you saw some malpractices. That should form your conversations, that will form reforms that CSO should push for, push to the government, push to the necessary security agency, push to the courts, and so many other things. Now, what election reforms have your organization or the CSOs in Edo State? What kind of reform have they pushed in the last 1 to 3 years?
All right.
Electoral reform.
Over time, some of us have been part and parcel of the electoral process by way of engaging the stakeholders, by way of monitoring the processes. Now, we have equally observed some lacuna in the process, and we have made several recommendations. And one of the recommendations that I personally have made to the government is that the government should come up with a court, like a tribunal court, that deals with electoral violence and electoral malpractices, just like the issue of probably if there is malpractice and probably a particular candidate feel the election was manipulated and it files to court, and court give a specific time for the issues or cases to be decided. We also have the belief that those who also involve in act of criminality during the election, there should also be a means of expediting hearing, accelerating hearing on their cases. Not that you see someone who hijack a ballot box, a police arrest such person and charge to a normal court, a federal court, and in the process, while they are deciding the case in tribunal, the case goes on, and in the long run, nobody is interested in the case, and it's track off. So we also make recommendation to the government to make enabling law that anybody arrested, either in attempt to sway the mind of the electorate by vote buying, anybody who is seen, who is caught with money in around polling unit trying to bribe electorates to sway their mind, or anybody who is seen to be interfering or manipulating the electoral process should be charged to a tribunal court that will be mandated to give judgment in such matter within 6 months to 9 months. So therefore it will serve as a deterrent, because over time we will notice that we've seen that most of those who involve in such at the long run are not convicted. And we have also equally seen a situation whereby INEC will come and tell the citizens or the electorate to say, oh, we didn't have network, our beavers were being manipulated, our site was not functioning at a time where we needed it to function. So we have equally told the government to come up with a better technology that we take responsibility or take care of such shortcomings in an election. So we are doing more in the area of recommending, because the essence of observing or monitor election is to look at the success and the shortcomings, and so that we can profile solutions to the shortcoming to ensure that we have a better election. So we have over time make recommendations. And you equally said that it's during election that most activities are visible.
Yeah.
Yes, it is true, because it is only at that time that the people are conscious, and it's only at that time that the stakeholders are also interested. Because what we do over time, they are not interested or it involves them. You cannot see over time that the INEC will want to know what Freedom Ambassadors Organization is doing, but during the election they will know that there is a Freedom Ambassadors Organization that they need to work with. And again, the civil society, like you said earlier, civil society organizations have been strangulated by the powers that be, in order for us to see the light of the day, or they have the power or the financial muscle to challenge government. We are not being funded. So over time, most of our activities are not seen on social media, because if I come to EBS now to say Freedom Ambassadors is organizing a symposium or organizing a sensitization rally, your management will want me to pay.
But what of international? We are aware that there are international donors that also fund some CSOs, because you see they say this advert is in conjunction with CSO and so on so UKSAID. You see these funds that comes, like you said, during elections, can't we reserve some of these funds, not only expended on elections, but we can also use some of these funds to also push in the organization? Don't you think so? Because I'm aware that CSO get, because you obviously you can't shy away from that fact.
Yes, like I cannot entirely say it is not true, or rather it is fallacious. But what I have to say on this is that yes, there are international organizations that fund CSOs, but who are the CSOs that they fund? Do those of us who are very active, who the government sees as a threat, do they allow to access funds?
But
that is the question.
Funds not come through government. They come there.
You wouldn't know. There is politics at its peak in every strata of the Nigeria society. I can tell you for free that over 15 to 2 decades of my involving in civil society or advocacy, my organization have never accessed any funds from international donors. This program we just did, we spent over 10 million naira. I did not get a subvention of funds from any.
Don't you think that should also fund some of your reforms to government? To say, government, why not? We are CSOs are, should I say, the 4th or the 5th estates. We have the arms of government. We have the media. We have the media. Then we have the civil society.
You have the civil society. You have the government, the private sector, and the civil society.
So you know that would people play key role?
Of course, the government is aware, but like I said, the government will want to continue to strangulate or suppress the civil society to not to have the tenets to challenge government, like my organization did not too long ago when we challenged the state government in court.
So that's democracy. That's
yes,
democracy.
On a particular policy that tend to affect or to interfere in the activity of the civil society in the state, and we defeated the state government. They know if that enabling environment is created for civil society, we will work stronger to the extent that we will challenge the government. So they withhold the funds for civil society.
Before I actually leave you to go to look at engineering, we saw some, our last guest that we had evolved, or he is still in the CSO, in the civil society organization, Kadeh. He has moved from there and he has metamorphosed into politics. Now, do you think those comrades from the CSOs who moved into politics, they in turn fight CSOs, or do you think the people don't get the necessary support from them? Because obviously everybody will not be politicians. Some of you will still stay as CSO, even if you are offered maybe to become a commissioner or to become even a governor, you may want to still remain at that level. There are some of your comrades, some of your followers who may want to become politicians. When they get into office, don't you think these are guys you should call on to, or you think they fight the CSO?
Mr. Emmanuel, the concern you just raised is a very big one for us. It's the main reason some of us have refused to go into politics, because it's often said, or it is believed, that evil communication corrupts good manners. And those of our colleagues who have crossed over to the other side have further proven to us that indeed evil communication corrupts good manners. The civil society practitioners we have seen, either in the state or beyond, who crosses over to the other side of the divide, have over time become worse.
The statistics say they are more corrupt.
They are more. No, I wouldn't use the word corrupt, because there have not been any proven evidence against any of them. But in terms of these political manipulations and other characters associating with politicians, that is, to us, is contrary to the belief of the civil society. You see them exhibiting more of what we expected from them. So comrades who have crossed over have made some of us believe that if we join them, we are also going to behave like them. There are times those of them you used to meet, hang out at night, maybe be start and pepper soup together. Once they cross over, they no longer take your calls. Even if the governor takes your calls, those of them who have the privilege to just be at the corridor of power see them as overlord, and they cannot take your calls anymore or even respond to messages.
We saw
and again, to further add to that, some of us have been very, very skeptical in going into politics. Not that we don't like power, not that we don't like politics, but I personally believe that the current political structure in this state will consume.
Not in the nation. In general.
Yes, in the state and the nation will automatically consume anybody with a good intent. It is obvious that those, so to say, those you see, you think that they are set, and rather they have a mindset of dispensing good governance to the people. What happened when they cross over? Because there's a system who will automatically consume them. That is our fear. And our colleagues who have been there have further proven to us. The system consumes.
Engineer Benson, let's look at that fear. I think that fear is legitimate. Don't you think if we have more persons, should I say more righteous persons now, like he has quoted, if we have more persons, like we have more persons as SSAs, we have more persons as commissioners, more persons from the CSOs who cross the divide. Don't you think we'll have more of them? Because from some of the findings, these CSO who have crossed over say, oh, I'm just the only person here, we are one, we are two, and these other guys, they are more than us, we cannot, they overpower us, they overshadow us, so our voices are drowned, and their concerns are legitimate. Don't you think if we have more persons, more of these CSOs who crosses over to politics, we may begin to see a better side of governance?
Like my boss rightly responded, before you venture into the system, you need to first of all understand how that system works. Mm-hmm. We all know that when it comes to politics, we have a pattern whereby you are compelled to go by what is dictated. And so for the fact that we are not just patriotic, the members of the CSOs are not just patriotic citizens of Nigeria, but they are people who are passion driven for what they do. And so ordinarily, if I am, an activist, one who promotes certain rights, and I understand that the moment I venture into politics, that passion is going to be killed, then I find it no reasons to go into it. Talking about the numbers, even if we have more of human rights activists going into politics, that will not still change the situation. It has to begin with the head. And so it's one thing to have a few who understands what the yearnings of the masses are, and it's also another if the head that they listen to or they go along as followers to do the right thing.
All right, let's talk about doing the right thing. I think we had the conversation for one time, or I think from one of the meetings I had, you talked about that it is wrong for, let's say, the road safety to impound your car where they did not write no parking, or it is out of their jurisdiction for probably state-owned traffic warder to impound your car when you are parked on the federal roads. And when I saw this, I think somebody also said, one of your member said it is not the right, it's not in the jurisdiction of a policeman to ask you for your papers. That if they see you on the road, they ask you, okay, where's your papers? I think they said there's one of the papers you just showed to them, and I was like, how come this knowledge are available and just few persons have? Let's look at how the CSOs have sensitized the average Nigerian out there on their rights, because it seems we sleep on our rights. It seems we do not enforce our rights. We leave our rights to God. When our rights are infringed, we don't talk about it. We just let it go when these rights are infringed. Now let's look at how you are. Don't you think we should have study centers? We should have CSO have our partner with media organizations, write to them, partner with them. We can have CSO have ours where we educate people on their rights.
All right, let's start from your management here. If you can give us an hour, it will take 10 minutes.
No, you have to write.
Okay, now for us to come up on a live program where we educate and sensitize the citizens, but over time, there's this belief that Africans, the best place to hide something that is important, either anything, money, is inside book, because we believe that Nigerians, Africans, we don't read. An average Nigerian believe that civil society, human rights activists were jobless, we are wasting our time. That is
until maybe they are in problem.
They are a problem that their money cannot solve. I can tell you for free, there are big men, so to say, when their money fails, they run to civil society. They are high-ranking security agencies. When they see what is happening within them that they cannot solve, they refer to civil society. But over time, we have carried out sensitization. We have, like Freedom Ambassadors Organization, we hold our General Assembly meeting every month. Our organization runs on a daily basis, but we created a platform to be giving lectures, to be educating and sensitizing the people how many persons turned out. They believe that an average Nigerian do not want to spend 10 minutes of their time
to learn
to acquire knowledge. And when they have problem, they want their problem to be solved immediately. Like for instance, when the Inspector General of Police suspend the issuance of tint permit, then the sitting commissioner of police as at that time was Kompo Dankwara. The issue came up that they were impounding vehicles
with tinted permit,
with tint glass without permit, and I was forced to call him on phone one day. I called him, then he said he was in a meeting. I sent him a text message that if this is not relaxed immediately, the day my vehicle or anybody close to me is any vehicle of any person close to me is impounded, I said I will drag you to court. I told him that Inspector General of Police as an individual does not have the right to suspend a law made by the National Assembly, that even the president of this country does not have the right or the power to suspend a law made by National Assembly.
So tinted permit is legal.
It's legal. What the IG did was to suspend the issuance, and he does not have the right to suspend the issuance except the said law is amended by the National Assembly, because the law that permits the issuance of tint permit give the right to citizens on some certain conditions, either medical or security wise, to obtain a tin permit. The right is there, the law is there. So who is an individual to say the law is no longer in existence, and you want to go as far as clamping down those who you refuse to issue?
But this law has been abused, so probably that's
it has been abused. Then you track down those abusing the law, not to infringe on the right of those who did not abuse the law. And I'm waiting for the day anybody will be ready. Very well. And the security agencies are not see it as a business opportunity to impound vehicles, to intimidate people, to oppress people and extort them. But some of us have our reservation. Let my vehicle be impounded on the road, which I know they cannot.
Is a vehicle tinted?
I have a tint glass. As at the time, I have a medical report. As at when I applied, they told me that the IG has suspended the law made by National Assembly. I said I have my reservation. But in the day you impound my vehicle, I won't even go to the DP or CP to remand. I will approach the court.
All right. Before I let you go, time setting is one on our side. I want to take one of these things. How should individuals respond when they see security agencies along the way? Is a policeman? Does the policeman have the right to ask for your papers, to ask for roadworthiness, even if we know the roads are not worthy of our cars? Some of these issues, respond to them in a minute or less.
All right. First, the police does not have, in quotes.
No, don't quote it. We need let's express.
It's not a constitutional right for them, or it's not necessary or compulsory for a policeman to see a motorist, a driver, and demand for vehicle documents. The only time it is provided, if you read through Police Act, it is not in any way stated there that every vehicle passing on the road, the police must demand. If you look at the police human right practical manual, the only time it is provided that on the suspicion that the vehicle is a stolen vehicle, that is where the police have the moral right to demand for the document, just for one reason, to prove the ownership. The issue of document expiration, it is not the business of the Nigerian police, like I have always told them. It is the business of the state government. We pay tax, it's road tax, and it's a civil issue, not a criminal issue. Like I had a confrontation with some police officers who were intervening in a matter in the state command sometime not too long ago, about a week or two ago. I took time to educate them. When they arrested someone who drove against traffic,
tell you can't teach me my job.
They most of them will educate them. They don't know. I can say this for free. But when you engage the officers, the hierarchy, you will see the level of information is different. But when you are engaging the rank and file, you sometimes you even wonder how some of them went through the process when they don't know the law. They enforce what is provided for. I told them. He said he didn't have. He drove against traffic. I said yes. It's a civil offense. He picked offense and said, I said it's a civil offense. I said, is it a criminal offense? Would you have shot him because he drove against traffic? There is a provided punishment for such a civil offense. Not to impound the vehicle, you you detain the suspect more than for the 24 hours, and you are demanding for money. He said he has committed an offense. It's an offense, but it's a civil offense that ordinarily you ought not to even detain. You impound the vehicle. So we found out that most of these security agencies who enforces our law does not know our law.
All right, I think, comrade, what we'll do, we'll set a time aside. We'll dedicate a show for that. All right, so where you come educate our people out there, since probably they don't come for meetings, but they tune into TVs. We could do that. Our program will be live streamed, so it will reach out to a whole lot. I don't know if that will be okay.
Of course,
so that we can come educate our people. Secondly, time is not on our side. Engineer Benson, thank you for coming, and with trust you are going to enlighten more of our voters to come out and vote and behave themselves. I don't know if you have told them that, so how to conduct themselves during election. Comrade Benson, just 1 minute. How should voters behave and comport themselves during when they go to the polling unit to vote?
First of all, as a patriotic citizen of Nigeria who understands the benefits of going out there to cast your votes, which simply means that you are in place to take your own decisions, to decide who will be in the office, which will also influence your economic well-being.
Sure.
You should do it to the best of your knowledge, in line with or within the confines of the law. You should not also be those who are influenced by, those in power to either go there to disrupt the elections and thereby influencing the outcome of the elections in the world.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Last word from me.
Yes, go.
Okay.
Last word from me.
All right, I want to appeal to the electorate and most especially our youth to ensure that we have a peaceful election. I'm more concerned about the youth because the politicians tend to use our youth as an instrument of destruction. I want to appeal, before you think of going to the bully unit to attempt to risk your life for any politician, I want to remind you that the politicians, their children is in abroad, their wife and children is in abroad, but they want you to risk your life to interfere in the election. So please say no to electoral violence. Ensure you go out and cast your vote peacefully. And again, buying or selling of vote. When you sell your vote, when you collect money from any individual to cast your vote, you have sold your birthright like the Esau. You have sold your future. You have sold your generation, that of your children unborn. So please ensure you go out to vote your conscience. Avoid selling your vote. Thank you very much.
All right, that's the voice of Comrade Curtis Ogbebo, and he has spoken a whole lot. And also we have Comrade Engineer Benson. We'll take a short break. When we return, we're going to look at vote buying and what the government should be doing, because it seems that's where a lot of politicians are hiding. They don't come out to interface with the people. They don't discuss with the people. They know that on that day, if I give 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, even as open as 20, 25,000, the people will sell their votes. After the short break, political mandate will continue. Thank you, comrade.